You can take a person who wins $1 million and place them in the heart of Wall Street, and in a few years, they will likely be back to zero. But take a person with financial principles to a poor rural area, and in a few years, they will build a thriving farm. The issue is never how much you have in your wallet, it is how much you have in your mind. Not the numbers in your bank account, but the structure of your thinking. That is why I keep saying, people are not poor because they lack money, they are poor because they lack principles. I have met many who earn money but cannot keep it, nor can they make it grow. They spend based on emotions, invest out of impatience, and borrow to save face. They live relying on luck, I hope, and a bit of, if I try hard enough, things will work out. But they never build a clear, disciplined, repeatable system of thinking. Financial freedom does not come from a lucky break. It comes from applying the right principles every day, even when no one is watching. That is discipline. Think of a farmer. Each season, he has a limited number of seeds. If he eats all his seeds, his family might be full today. But what about next season? What must he do? He must save a portion to plant. He must have an unshakable principle. I will always keep 10%. No matter how hungry I am, that is financial awareness. That is discipline. Those without principles spend everything they have because they live by emotions. Those with principles delay gratification for greater rewards later. Financial freedom begins when you live below what you earn, not at the level others spend. I recall saying in a training session, if you earn 5 coins and spend all 5, you are already poor. But if you earn 5 and spend 3, you are already growing rich. People are surprised because they think more money equals freedom. But no, freedom lies not in the amount of money, but in the gap between income and expenses. The wider the gap, the lighter you feel. The narrower, the more pressure you face. And what widens that gap is not magic, it is discipline. I was once poor. I know the urge to spend to feel better. I know that just this once feeling when wanting to buy something. But I learned this, every time you spend based on emotion, you train your mind to be weaker. And every time you resist that emotion, you grow financially stronger, even if you have nothing yet. So, if you do not have much today, do not be discouraged. Freedom does not start when you have more, it starts when you control what you have. Even if it is just 10 coins, even if it is a few extra hours of work, even if it is the first small amount saved, that is where it begins. And if you stay consistent, one day you will look back and say, I started with that small principle, and it changed my entire life. Remember, the truly rich are not those with the most, but those controlled by the least, those who can say no to emotions, yes to principles, and maintain discipline. Even when no one is watching, that is true freedom. So, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I spending based on emotions or principles? Am I living for feelings or for strategy? And if I change just one small financial habit, what could happen in 10 years? You know what? The answer to that is the true value of wealth, and only you can start that journey today. I am Jim Rohn, and I invite you to lay the first brick for financial freedom with the smallest act of discipline today. Are you ready? One of the greatest illusions people carry on their journey to financial freedom is the belief, when I have money, I will change. They think more money will make them more disciplined, generous, calm, kind, or even smarter. But you know what? Money never changes people, it only amplifies them. It magnifies what is already inside. Like a spotlight on a magnifying glass. If there is a crack, it shows clearly If there is a gem, it shines brightly. Money is an amplifier, not a transformer. I had a friend who, when poor, lived frugally and humbly, always saying, when I have money, I will help others, build schools, give to charity. Then he landed a big contract and had plenty of money. The first thing he did was not help anyone. He bought 3 cars, upgraded his phone, and threw a party to show the world he had made it. He did not become generous, he became wasteful. Not because money is bad, but because he never practiced humility or built principles in private. When money came, those Key at Abbott exploded. That is how it works. Money amplifies what is already there. On the other hand, I knew a woman who cleaned offices, earning just a few $100s a month. Yet, she set aside $10 each week to buy books or support small scholarships for her grandchildren. When asked why she did not save for herself, she smiled, "I do not want to grow old, living only for myself. I want to see someone go to school because of my small dollars." And guess what? 10 years later, when she retired, those children, now doctors and engineers, came together to provide her a decent place to live. She was not generous because she had a big heart, and that heart was amplified over time. You see, it is not wrong for the poor to count every penny, but if they only count to keep for themselves, when they get rich, they will still only keep for themselves, just on a larger scale. The rich who invest, give, and build are those who had those principles when they had nothing, like a tree. You do not shape it when it is tall, you shape it when it is young. Likewise, you do not wait to have money to live with discipline. You live with discipline first. So when money comes, it does not ruin you. I once said in a training, if you are lazy when poor, you will be lazier when rich. If you spend impulsively when poor, you will spend exponentially when rich. And if you live aimlessly when poor, you will have an aimless life with fancy cars and expensive watches, still aimless. What you need is not money, it is identity. A clear system of beliefs, a set of unshakable principles, a way of living that money only serves to expand. I often ask my students, if your income increased tenfold today, what would you do differently? Their answers reveal not just how they would use money, but who money would make them. If the answer is, I will live healthier, learn more, help others more, then congratulations, you are ready. But if it is, I will quit my job, buy this, stop listening to anyone, be careful. You do not need money, you need discipline. Without discipline, freedom becomes chaos. Financial freedom, once again, does not come from how much you have, but from who you are before you have it. You can lose money, but if you keep your principles, you can rebuild. But if you lose your principles, even an inherited fortune can vanish in a few years. So instead of asking, how do I get more money? Ask, how do I become someone who, when money comes, is not controlled by it? That is the real question. And if you answer it seriously, you are halfway to freedom. I am Jim Rohn, and I am not here to ask how much you earn. I am here to ask, who are you becoming as you earn it? And are you strong enough that when money comes, you use it, not the other way around? There is a strange truth. Many think they live freely, but every morning they wake up to a day driven entirely by things they cannot control. A packed schedule, not because they want it, but because they must. Meetings, contracts, compromises stacked like bricks, building a wall that traps them inside. I once believed freedom meant doing what I liked, and that feels appealing. who would not want to wake up when they please, go where they want, say what they think. But I realized if you only chase what you like without discipline, you fall into the sweet trap of waste. Time slips away. Money runs dry. Willpower grows lazy, and you start doing things you do not want again. That is the paradox of freedom. Without discernment, you get swept along. Without learning to say no, you live with too many musts. Without defining what truly matters to you, others will define it for you. I had a friend, talented, high earning, respected, yet every weekend he was exhausted. Not because he was not successful, but because he could not choose his life. His days were a chain of musts: meet clients, maintain an image, agree to things against his nature. When I asked what tired him most, he whispered, "I feel like I am working for my own life." That sentence haunted me for years. So, freedom does not begin with exploring the world. It begins with a journey inward where you have the courage to admit, some things I do are not from love, but from fear. Some things I endure are not from duty, but from old beliefs that I cannot be different. True freedom comes when you no longer fear losing someone just for living authentically. It comes when you are so full inside that you do not depend on others' approval. It is when you know what is yours and bravely let go of what no longer is. Even if it once made you proud. I worked jobs I did not love. I stayed in relationships that did not help me grow. I smiled politely at things that hurt me. But I also learned to walk away not in anger, but with gratitude for what was. I learned to choose again, to return to life what no longer fit. And each time I chose true to myself, a bit of freedom was born. A farmer taught me to have a good harvest. Sometimes you do not plant more seeds, you pull out the weeds. Freedom is like that. Do not just add experiences to your life. Dare to remove what makes you wither. And one day, when you walk outside unbothered by others' opinions, wake up without needing to play a role. Sit silently in a meeting knowing no one can touch you. You will know you are living freely. Freedom is not a loud noise. It is a deep silence, and you only hear it when you are still enough to listen. I have met people who work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, 11 months a year, and still cannot build freedom. They are not lazy. They are not undisciplined, but they stay busy without real progress. Like rowing a boat in circles, arms tired, heart racing, water splashing, but the boat stays in place. Why? Because hard work does not always mean progress. Sometimes it is just a polite way to avoid facing the real issue. People work frantically, not because they love work, but because they do not want to sit still and face themselves. And if you keep going like that, you will burn out without knowing why you started. Rest is not avoidance. It is part of growth. Do you see a farmer planting seeds all 365 days? No. There is a season to sow, to water, to wait, to harvest. In the quiet days, the crop still grows. In the silent nights, roots die deeper. The poor are not just those without money, but those without the ability to pause. They fear stopping means falling behind. But because they never rest, they stay behind, not just financially, but mentally, in clarity, in endurance. I fell into that trap. In my early entrepreneurial years, I thought working twice as hard would get me to the finish line faster. No one told me. Not everyone who runs fast reaches their destination. Some collapse because they never stop to breathe. Others arrive, but with an empty soul and a worn-out body. A wise man once told me, if you do not stop to check your compass, it does not matter how much fuel you have, you are still going the wrong way. That is why you need rest, not to be lazy, but to realign, to remember where you are going and why. I found that my greatest leaps in life came not when I was busiest, but when I was stillest. The best ideas came not while answering endless emails, but sitting alone with a cup of tea, looking at the small garden behind my house. The right decisions came not from pressure, but from distance. You cannot build a solid life with only the bricks of labor. You need time to connect, observe, understand, and return to yourself. Rest is not quitting work. It is pausing the rush self so you can hear the whisper of reason and intuition. And if you truly listen, you may find you are going the wrong way or running in a race not meant for you. Do not take pride in being busy. Take pride in resting at the right time. That is the mark of someone who masters their life, not controlled by it. A wise person does not ask, how much can I do in a day, but am I doing the most important thing? And do I have the strength to do it steadily for 10 years? If the answer is no, stop, breathe, sit down. And remember, a tree bears fruit after winter's rest. No one matures without moments of stillness. Some spend their whole lives chasing success without stopping to ask, what is success? A big house, a shiny car, a bank account with extra zeros, or something subtler? Quitter? I used to think like most. Success is a destination, having something others do not, winning a race. Everyone is exhausted running. But there were days I came home in a fine suit with fame and high income, yet felt an unnamed emptiness inside. That is when I understood. Success is not where you stand, it is who you become each day to get there. Success, redefined, is not an achievement, but a presence. Not where you arrive, but how you live while getting there. Not a destination others admire, but a way of living others. Remember, I know a man, not wealthy in material terms, but who lived with calm, punctuality, and kept his word to the end. No one called him successful in the usual sense, but ask anyone who worked with him, and they would say, I want to live like him. That is true success, a way of life. Others want to emulate, not just admire. You can do an ordinary job, but if you bring extraordinary excellence to it, you are successful. You may not be famous, but if you are a parent, friend, or colleague others trust and cherish, you surpass many who are famous but lonely. The problem today is people focus too much on measuring results and forget how to live. You can hit high sales targets, but if you cheat or harm others, your success is on a crumbling foundation. You can have fame, but if you doubt yourself inside, you are only living under stage lights without true light in your soul. So what is a way of life to be proud of? It is honesty, even when no one knows. It is discipline, even when no one checks. It is kindness, even to those who cannot repay. It is showing up on time, keeping promises, and owning failures without excuses. It is living so that you wake up without shame and sleep soundly without betraying your beliefs. Such a way of life has no paycheck to prove it, but it builds a lasting legacy, self-respect, trust, and a name others speak of with reverence, not envy. You can choose any career, start from any point, but you can always choose your way of life. Choose integrity, responsibility, a constructive spirit. That is something no one can take from you. Not the economy, not a bad boss, not a volatile market. That is what you hold on to. For true success, others can take your opportunities, but not your way of life unless you give it up. And sooner or later, that way of life will lead you to greater opportunities. So do not ask, what have I achieved? Ask, how did I live today? Do not measure life by awards or numbers. Measure it by the depth of your actions, relationships, decisions. When you live a life you respect, even if no one applauds, you know you are on the right path. I once asked a friend, what is your plan for this year? He replied, I will see what happens. It sounds calm, but imagine you are a captain on a vast ocean, and instead of charting a course, you say, I will drift and see where I end up. Likely, you will hit rocks, get lost in the wilderness, or worse, drift forever without reaching shore. That is what happens when you do not design your life. If you have no plan, someone will invite you into theirs. And trust me, their goals are not to help you achieve your dreams. They just need you to work, serve, comply as long as you do not cause trouble. You become a cog in their machine, not the creator of your own. Many live as if life is a series of random events, study whatever, work whatever, meet whoever, spend however. Then one day, they wake up midlife, confused about where they are. Nothing feels wrong, but nothing feels right. Nothing is terrible, but nothing is memorable. And worst of all, there is no one to blame but themselves. Designing your life does not mean controlling everything. No one can, but it means having a map, a clear direction, a vision. Every decision work, relationships, finances. Health must be measured by, does this take me closer or farther from my design? I advise young people, do not start a day until you have finished its plan. Do not start a year without a picture of the next 12 months. And especially, do not enter midlife without knowing what you want to leave behind in this world. Designing a life begins with 3 questions. What do I truly want? Who do I want to become? And what am I willing to sacrifice? You might say, I want freedom. Great. But freedom does not come from wishing. It comes from planning. Financial plans, training plans, learning plans. You might say, I want to be influential. Fine. But have you written down the steps to refine your voice, build your character, expand your vision? Designing is a responsible act. It demands honesty about your strengths, weaknesses, and what you are delaying. It is not easy, but consider, better to feel the pain of charting a path once than to live a lifetime adrift, floating in others' currents. I taught a salesperson, each day, draw your sales map on paper. Do not let busyness fool you into thinking you are progressing without a destination. All effort can be meaningless. This applies to every area: health, career, learning, relationships. Without a plan, you accept random results, and most random outcomes are not the best. A life without a design is like a building without a blueprint. It might stand, but it will be messy, disconnected, without a core, and when crises hit, illness, downturns, job, loss, it collapses without a framework. But with a design, you know what to learn, what to remove, who to invest in, where to stop, where to continue. You are not swayed by tempting offers because you know what fits you and what only pulls you off course. Your design does not need to be complex, but it must be clear, written down, and yours. Not what parents want, friends expect, or society suggests. It must come from your heart, your reasoned mind, your desire for a meaningful life. Success is not a gift someone hands you. It is a structure you draw build, and protect. If you do not start today, someone else will hand you their structure and you will live in it, even if it does not make you happy. So ask yourself, whose design am I living? If you do not have a clear answer, today is the first day to start drawing your own. One of the biggest mistakes people make is turning happiness into a destination. They say, when I succeed, I will be happy. Or when I have more money, retire, find the perfect partner, then I will be happy. But happiness is not a finish line at the end of the road. It is something you sow daily in every step. So when you look back, you realize you have been living in happiness all along. You do not plant rice today for a rice cake next week. You plant because you know if you care for it right, in the right season, the right way, the rice will ripen and then the cake will come. Happiness is the same. It does not come from forcing it to appear. It comes when you live right, nurture the right mindset, act on the right values. Happiness is a result, not a reward. You can achieve a goal, but if you cheated, you will not be happy. You can find love. But if the relationship is built on fear of abandonment, you will not be happy. You can be admired by the world, but if you no longer recognize yourself in the mirror, you will not be happy. I once said, success is getting what you want. Happiness is cherishing what you have, but deeper still, happiness is realizing. Every action you take comes from an upright inner strength, not rushed, not anxious, not needing to prove anything. A farmer tends his garden each morning, not because he expects fruit every day. The tending itself is happiness. It is connecting with the earth, the quiet peace as the sun rises, the small joy of a new sprout. If you cannot find happiness in the process, you will always depend on the outcome. And outcomes, as you know, are never fully in your control. So I often advise, do not ask, what will this get me? Ask, who will I become by doing this daily? Because who you become stays with you longest. Everything else, money, fame, achievements, passes faster than you think. Happiness does not need to be loud. It does not need others' validation. It is like fresh air you breathe in the morning. No one praises it, but you know you are alive. It is knowing you did good work today, did not back down from difficulty, were kind. When no one saw, and then you sleep soundly, needing no pills, no soothing. One of the greatest lessons I learned is no one gives you happiness, no love fills you if you are empty inside. No job excites you if you find no meaning in it. And no vacation is long enough to heal a life lived wrongly. So how do you find happiness? You do not. You live each day like planting a field. You do not need to know when the flowers bloom. Just ensure you watered them. You do not need to force joy. Just live true and live deeply. Happiness is not an event. It is a way of life. It is how you see things, not how things unfold. It is choosing gratitude over resentment, learning lessons over complaining, moving forward, even on rough roads. And one day, unannounced, without magic, you will realize you are smiling for no reason. You feel peace in an ordinary afternoon. You feel grateful just to live another day. Enjoy a good meal. Have a true friend. A meaningful talk. That is happiness. Not from anywhere else, but from you. I once told a young friend, you can earn $100,000 a year, but if you spend $101,000, you are going backward. But someone earning $35,000, saving $10,000 yearly, that person is moving forward. Wealth is not measured by how fast you earn, but by the depth of your financial thinking. Ever notice that a bucket does not empty from lack of water poured in, but from leaks at the bottom? Personal finance is like that. Many focus on increasing income but neglect habits of keeping, controlling, saving, and investing. They work 70 hours a week but spend like there is no tomorrow. Then a small crisis hits: job loss, accident, illness, and everything collapses. Because there is no reserve, a wise person does not ask, "What will I do if I earn more?" but, "What am I doing with what I have now?" No one gets rich just by earning quickly. They get rich by managing every dollar earned and letting it work for them. That is the difference between working for money and letting money work for you. I'm not saying live in deprivation, but learn to spend consciously. Each time you swipe a credit card, ask, does this bring me closer to or farther from my financial goals? The difference between financial freedom and debt traps is not money, it is awareness. A good farmer does not just plant, he harvests and stores. He builds a barn before the rains come. He saves the best seeds for the next season. And he does not eat everything, even in a bountiful harvest, because he knows a good season is luck. Survival is discipline. Personal finance is the same. You do not need an investment expert to start. You need a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Write down every expense for a week. Look at it. Ask, am I buying temporary comfort or long-term peace? Many spend to impress. The wise use money to buy freedom of choice. I met people who borrowed to go on vacation. They spent for instant feelings and carried burdens for months. That is not enjoyment. That is selling the future for the present. But I also met those who lived simply, yet went to work with calm confidence because they owed no one. They did not work extra hours just to pay interest. They did not endure bad bosses because they had a reserve to walk away if needed. Financial freedom starts with small disciplines. Save 10% each month before spending. Set saving goals before shopping goals. Learn to delay gratification. Learn to keep a part of yourself untouchable. That part will save you in stormy days. But beyond money, keeping is not just about money. It is about keeping principles, keeping values, keeping clarity in a society that pushes you to spend to prove yourself, keeping contentment in a world of comparisons, keeping your soul from becoming a debtor to others' expectations. And one day, looking back, you will see you are not rich just because you have more money. You are rich because you live with awareness, with the ability to choose, not forced to chase anything. That is true wealth. Perhaps after hearing these 8 chapters, you wonder, is this enough to change my life? And I will say, no, not yet. But it is enough to make you pause, enough to step back and see your life's entire field. And sometimes one well-timed step back can change your whole direction. You do not need to become someone else, just a more aware version of yourself. Because the truly poor are not those with little money, but those who never learned to think independently, who never pause to ask, who am I doing this for? What am I chasing? And if I get it, will I be happy? Each chapter is not just a lesson, it is a mirror of truth, of choices, of how one can live fully, even from hardship. I have been there unknown. I'm poor, confused. I was not born with a map, but I learned to read the signs, to listen to life, and then I drew my own map. You can too. Do not wait for everything to collapse before you change. Do not wait for others to permit you to live your values. Start with the smallest thing, a notebook, a saving habit, how you talk to yourself, deciding to stop blaming and start taking responsibility. Because if you do not master your life, someone else will. If you do not define wealth your way, society will force you into a definition not yours. And one day, You may wake up successful, wealthy, but empty because you lived your whole life for others' expectations. Do not let that happen. Choose a life you can be proud of, not because others applaud, but because you know you lived right. Each day, just one step, one habit, one small shift in thinking, and you will see. Wealth is not a destination. It is a journey of awareness, of seeing value in the simple, of living without needing to prove anything. Do it, not because I say so, but because you deserve it. Because you are mature enough to realize true freedom does not come from outside. It comes from within, from thinking, from choices, from the courage to live life your way. You already have the seeds. Now is the time to plant and trust me. If you persist and nurture daily, you will have a harvest that surprises even you. And I will be waiting for you there on the other side of transformation, in a world where you no longer struggle to be rich, because you will know you were already rich from within.